What is your opinion on how important head carriage is? The current reining horse is shown with much lower head carriage than it was 10 to 20 years ago. Are they doing that just as a trend, or is it helping their overall performance? How much does conformation play in part of a natural head carriage? I don't expect saddlebred to hold its horse like a quarter horse, vice versa. All right, cool. So head carriage, how much importance do I put into that? Absolutely zero, to be perfectly honest with you. The carriage of the head is a byproduct of them lifting their back and collecting their body and putting the weight on their hindquarters. And where they carry that head when their back is rounded, that's all aesthetics. Some horses are very collected and have a head carriage, but because of their conformation, they hold their head higher. Some, because of their conformation, they hold their head lower. So conformation plays a big part in where the natural head carriage is. Now we can mechanically frame a horse into whatever head carriage we want, higher, lower, anywhere in between. We can do it, and in the training process, I'm just going to hit the high point here because it can get to be a long conversation. But in the training process, sometimes we will mechanically frame a horse's head someplace or another in an effort to work on the fitness of a different part of their body, which is to say they'll use the weight of their head and their neck as a pendulum to balance themselves, and there's times when we will frame their head and neck to where they can't use that leverage from their head and neck to balance themselves, and so then they have to round their back more and use their body to find their balance better. But their natural head carriage is totally dependent on their conformation and dependent on how much collection they have, and then they'll carry it differently. Now when we get into the showing situation, then there's trends that the judges are looking for, whether you like it or not. If you're going to show under a judge, then you have to go along with what the modern trends are and what people are looking for. It takes a really phenomenal kind of a horse to get noticed by judges that are looking for the things that fill this particular box. It takes a really exceptional horse to not fit in that box and still get noticed and marked by those judges. Again, like it or not, it's the way it is. Judges at any show have certain criteria they're looking for. It makes no difference whether they like the horse, don't like the horse, like the maneuver, don't like the maneuver. That's the only way to judge fairly, is to have these particular criteria you're judging. So the low head carriage in the reining horses, that's eye appeal, and that is what modern judges are looking for, is this particular carriage. Again, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what they're looking for. Yes, the trend has gotten to where their head's way lower. There is a couple of things I will say about the way reining horses travel. One of the things that a reining horse judge is looking for is a horse to be willingly guided, is the actual words in the handbook, that the horse is willingly guided. And so 10-20 years ago, they carried their neck higher, but they all rode behind the bridle, and that was where you showed that the horse was willingly guided. When a horse is behind the bridle, behind the vertical, and that's maybe a different video where I have to explain what that means, but some of you know what that means. So when a horse is behind the vertical, all they can see is their feet. They can't see in front of them. And so that's how those reining horse trainers are showing that the horse is willingly guided, because the horse is only able to see his feet. He's not able to see where he's going, and is still willing to go where the rider sends him. They've gotten away from that trend now, and so instead of being behind the vertical in their head with their pole, they're just getting them to lower their head way down. There again, it's the same idea. That horse's head is so low that they can just see about this high off the ground out in front of them, and not very far out in front of them. And so it's showing that the horse is willingly guided. So does it help the maneuver, I guess was part of the question. Does it help the overall performance? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make that horse run any faster, slide any farther, anything like that. It just shows that the horse is willing to go blind. It is willing to operate without being able to see, which is actually pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing about a horse. If you can send them full tilt and they can't even see where they're going, but they trust you enough that you're not going to run them into something. That's kind of a cool thing. Before I move to the next one, I will add to that the whole idea of behind the vertical. Why would you ever put one behind the vertical? Well, to me, until I can put one behind the vertical, I don't really trust them. Until they trust me to put them where they can't see, I don't trust them to do other things. So I don't like to ride one behind the vertical, but I have to be able to put one behind the vertical. And in training, the whole idea of putting one behind the vertical came from millennia ago, when cavalry was tilting at soldiers that were standing there with spears. And so that was how they did it, is they put the horse behind the vertical so they couldn't see what they were running at, and that was the only way they could get a horse to run hard and fast at 500 Celtic guys in skirts yelling and waving spears around. And it worked, because the Romans beat the Celts. So there's your history.
So much so to the Patreon crew. You guys are the reason we're able to do this and do the extra things and really do all the YouTube videos too. We wouldn't be able to make it work without you guys. So thank you so much. And any of the rest of you, you can jump on and watch any of these extra kind of things that we do on Patreon and see what's going on there. So check that out if you can.